a doubt, the most important muscle group for aesthetics is shoulders, as it makes you look wider and gives you that Dorito look. You can also hack a smaller waist by getting broader shoulders, which makes you look more like a bodybuilder. Shoulders are more important in terms of our aesthetics than big arms, a big chest, big back, big legs, whatever. Our shoulders make us look good no matter what clothes we're wearing. Now, the benefits for having big shoulders extend beyond just in the gym. Men with big shoulders are perceived to be more powerful and better leaders, and they've also shown that men with broader shoulders give women stronger orgasms. So training shoulders is vital to having a better life. Now, quick warning before we go any further, don't expect your shoulders to look exactly like mine. I have a massive genetic advantage when it comes to shoulders. However, I want to help you get your shoulders as good as possible. This is the exact shoulder workout I used to initially blow up my shoulders when I started working out. And it was so effective that I have not had to train shoulders pretty much at all ever since. Now, the logic behind this training is that the shoulder is a very sketchy joint and people injure it all the time. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot goes on, and it's very easy to injure. And so that affects the way we train shoulders. Now, the shoulders are very large muscles, and a lot of people treat it the same way they treat other muscles. But shoulders cannot withstand the same heavy abuse that quads or glutes or chest or back can withstand. And so we need to be much more delicate with the way we train, because if you injure your shoulder, it kind of throws all your upper body work for a loop. You can't train arms properly, you can't train chest properly, and you can't train back properly. So the goal is to keep it light. Here's the name of the game: muscle control, contraction, pauses, pre-exhaustion, and time under tension. Now, the shoulders are made up of three parts. There's the front delt, the side delt, and the rear delt. We don't need to worry about the front delt. It gets plenty of stimulation from pretty much everything you do in the gym. Any pushing movement stimulates the front delt. The rear delts also get a fair amount of stimulation if you're training back on a regular basis, especially if you're doing high rows. The most important part of the shoulder is the side delt. This part here. This is what gives that broad cap look that people want with shoulders, and so that is what we're going to emphasize with this workout. Let's start with the first exercise. We're going to start with some dumbbell lateral raises. You're going to start with a lightweight, around 4 to 6 kilograms. Now, the form is quite important on this one. It's like bending your elbow and leaning forward. And I want you to imagine that you're holding a cup of water and pouring it out ever so slightly. Just trying to pour a little bit, not dump the whole thing out, but pour a little bit. The reason why is if your hand is rotated upwards, as if you're trying to hold water in the cup, your front delt gets engaged. And if you go too much, your rear delt is in a weird position and you might hurt yourself. So you want to slightly look like you're pouring out, and that's what keeps your side delt activated. Now, for these reps, you're just trying to build up a mind-muscle connection and get blood into the muscles. So nice and slowly up, squeeze at the top and slowly down. Go for 10 to 15 reps, but you want to leave about 5 reps in reserve. Now we move on to the second set. You want to increase the weight by 2 to 4 kilograms, whatever you're comfortable with. Make sure you don't go too heavy, as you might injure your shoulder. Increasing this weight, we're going to follow the same principles but go slightly less reps, 8 to 10 reps. Again, we're leaving a couple reps in reserve. You're not going to absolute failure here. Just hold it up, squeeze at the top, and then slowly down again. Just keep the muscle engaged. If you want to make sure that your delts are doing the work and you're not relying on momentum, go way to the top, come down partially, then go back up again, and then all the way down. This is a great way to make sure that the delts are actually engaged. You're taking about 30 seconds to a minute rest in between these sets. We don't have to go too heavy, and we don't have to take too long to rest because we're using lightweight. The third and the fourth set act as one. It's almost a drop set, and these are the working sets. Your shoulders should be nice and warm now, and now you're going to get to your working weight. I personally don't go over 12 kilograms, but if you're comfortable, you feel your shoulders are healthy, and you're freakishly strong, go to 16, maybe 20. 20 is absolutely pushing it. Do whatever you're comfortable with. You are going for 8 to 10 reps at this top weight. Let's say it's 12 kilograms. You again are going to control the movement to the top, squeeze at the top, and then lower it slowly down. You want to try get 8 clean reps. If you feel like you can do more reps, keep going. There's no point in stopping when you reach the number. The numbers don't mean anything. They're just simply a guideline. What we're going for is true total muscular failure. Eventually, you should reach a point where you can no longer lift it all the way. When that happens, start doing partials, come halfway up. Activate your delt as much as you physically can. When you can no longer go halfway, go to a quarter of the way, and just go until you literally cannot move it anymore. Then we move on to the final set. You're gonna put down that weight, you're gonna give yourself 10, maybe 30 seconds max rest time, and you're gonna drop to half the weight that you're previously doing. So say it was 12, you're gonna go to 6. You're gonna again repeat exactly what you did now, but now your muscles are exhausted. You're just gonna try rep it out as much as you possibly can and keep that muscle engaged and exhausted. When you can no longer do full repetitions, once again, do partials. Let's move on to the second exercise. Now this is another variation of the lateral raise, except you're not doing it with dumbbells, you're gonna do it with cables. You're gonna go to a cable machine and grab a handle that you're comfortable. The same form applies on this exercise as it did with the previous one, except the reason we're using cables is the time under tension is much better. See, when you're using a dumbbell, your gravity is peaked around this point. You're losing tension in certain parts of the movement. You're not in keeping the shoulders engaged the entire time. The cable does the opposite of this. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna lean slightly away from where the cable is coming from so that the movement is aligned with you. When you start with the cable, it's gonna be in front of you. And as you pull away, you're pulling, again with the same form as though you're pouring out a cup, you're pulling away and across your body so that you keep your entire body engaged. So what you'll notice is the cable will start maybe a couple inches away from you, and at the end it should almost be touching your body or touching your body. Now, we're gonna do 3 sets of this. Choose a weight that you are comfortable doing 12 reps with. Once again, lean away from it, control the movement, squeeze at the top and lower it slowly down. You wanna keep it under control the entire time. Once you've hit 12 reps, move over to the other shoulder. You're doing 1 at a time now. This is so you can focus on a single shoulder being engaged at the time and you won't end up with muscle imbalances. Make sure you're doing the same amount of reps with the same effort level on both shoulders so you don't get an imbalance. The second set, you're just going to increase it 8 to 10, leaving 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And the final set is the working set. And you're going to go increase the weight to something you're comfortable with and go to absolute failure until the point where you cannot move it anymore. And then once again, try hold it at the top, static motion. And when you can't do that anymore, just partial movements, tiny little partial movements. Control it up and control it down. Now we're going to move on to a shoulder press. Now you can choose to use a machine or you could choose to use dumbbells. I personally would not recommend a barbell as the movement needs you to move your head, which engages the side delts more. Whereas if you've just got a dumbbell, you can keep it towards the side of your head and just make sure your side delts are the things that stay engaged. You are going to get a bit of front delt activation on this one. Now set the chair not to 90 degrees, but a slight angle before that, say 80, 85, 75. This allows for a more comfortable movement in the shoulders. Now we're trying to keep it light. We did the pre-exhaustive movements so that we don't have to get too heavy on here in order to get stimulation. You're once again going to control the weight up, squeeze at the top and lower it very slowly down. Try to keep the shoulders engaged, keep that in your mind. The most important movement is the negative part of this. First 2 sets, just keep it warm, start with a nice light weight. For myself, I'll start with 15 kilograms. You're gonna go 10 to 12 reps, leaving a couple reps in reserve just to get it nice and warm and make sure you're feeling activated. Second set, you're gonna increase the weight to, for myself, 20 kilograms, something where you can comfortably get 8 to 10 reps with about 2 reps in reserve. Finally, when you get to the working set, you don't want to be too heavy. You want everything to be very nicely pre-exhausted. And from here, you're just going to go to failure. Make sure you control the movement all the way down. I often prefer to do this on a machine, but there is not a good enough machine. Yeah? You're just trying to make sure you don't bring your arms in too much because that's going to engage your front delt. You want to be sort of at your side with a very slight turn in so you keep your shoulders nice and healthy. Finally, on the working set, you're going to increase the weight to what you think is 100% of your capacity to hit about 8 to 10 reps with. Now, it won't be what it would be if this was the first exercise you were doing because you've pre-exhausted the muscles before you began. Again, you are going to push up at the top, squeeze at the top. You're not going to lock out. If you're locking out your elbows, you're probably throwing your shoulders off. Control the movement up and control it down. When you start to struggle, get the weight up, hold it at the top, and then slowly lower it down. When you can't move it anymore, do little partial movements, and then hold it in a static at the bottom of the movement. This is actually where the most tension will be. You'll probably feel that when you do it. The final exercise for shoulders is to hit the rear delts. If you've been training back effectively, your rear delts will be trained to some capacity. But this is to ensure shoulder health, to make sure you don't end up with rounded shoulders because there's too much tension in the front. You need some elasticity at the back. Now we're just going to do face pulls. You need a long rope, or you need 2 handles that are attached to some fixture. I see a lot of people bring their knuckles like this. I find this does not work. I don't get activation, and it squeezes my traps more than anything. I try to bring my hands around as though I'm trying to show something inside the hole of my hands to the machine that I'm pulling from. From that point, you just pull and you rotate your shoulders back. You don't want to go too heavy on this one. Keep it nice and light. And this is about reps. We're just doing 3 sets with relatively high reps and just increasing the weight every single time. So start with 20, just get blood moving. You're going to pull and rotate as you reach your face. You want the line of the ropes or the handles to be in line with your eyes. You're sort of trying to pull the cable into your eyes, and then you're going to slowly move it down. First set, 20 reps. Next set, increase the weight a little bit, go for 15 reps. Next set, 12. Next set, 10. Most of the activation that you'll feel in your rear delt will be as you squeeze it at the bottom of the movement. Now, doing these exercises will get you great shoulders. However, you need to be aware of your genetic potential. Don't use that as a discouragement, but I've made a video discussing genetic potential and what benefits you will get from your genetics. Watch it here.